Picture this. A single coin slips through your fingers at a gas station in 1980, clinks onto the counter, and disappears into a cash register. No one looks twice.
No alarms. No headlines.
Yet decades later, collectors lean in, voices drop, and auction paddles rise into the millions. This is the quiet power of American coins from 1980, ordinary metal carrying extraordinary stories, where one tiny mistake, one rare survival, can turn pocket change into a life-changing fortune. In 1980, America was standing at a crossroads. Inflation was biting hard, silver had just been pulled from circulating coinage a few years earlier, and the U.S. Mint was focused on practicality over beauty. Coins were no longer precious metal treasure in the traditional sense. They were tools for commerce, lighter, cheaper, and meant to move fast through millions of hands. Pennies were copper-plated zinc, nickels still clung to their familiar alloy, and dimes and quarters were firmly clad. To most Americans, these coins felt disposable, almost boring. That boredom is exactly what makes the era fascinating, because history has a habit of hiding value where people stop paying attention. The 1980 penny is a perfect example. On the surface, it looks identical to countless others, bearing Lincoln's familiar profile and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse. But beneath that ordinary appearance lies a year of transition and experimentation. The U.S. Mint was adjusting metal compositions to save costs, and small changes in planchets, strikes, and minting conditions created subtle varieties. Most were never noticed at the time. They were spent, lost, scratched, and forgotten. Yet today, collectors study these pennies under magnification, hunting for rare errors, doubled dies, off-metal strikes, and pristine examples that somehow escaped circulation untouched. What gives a 1980 coin power is not age alone but survival. Millions upon millions were minted, but almost none were preserved with care. Think about what had to happen for a coin to remain flawless. It had to roll off the press perfectly, avoid contact marks, skip the grime of pockets and drawers, and end up protected for decades. That kind of survival is rare, and rarity fuels value. A top-grade example of a common coin can outperform a much older piece in worn condition, simply because perfection is harder to find than age. Nickels from 1980 tell a similar story. The Jefferson nickel had already been around for decades, familiar and overlooked. But in 1980, subtle minting quirks and the challenge of finding truly pristine examples created a new frontier for collectors. Full steps on Monticello, sharp details, and untouched surfaces became the holy grail. The value doesn't come from the metal. It comes from the story of how unlikely it is for such a coin to exist in that state. Every flawless nickel from that year is a small miracle of preservation. Dimes and quarters from 1980 add another layer. By then, silver was gone, and many people dismissed these coins as permanently cheap. Yet that assumption shaped their fate. Because no one thought they mattered, few were saved. Today, collectors compete fiercely for high-grade specimens, especially those with crisp strikes and original luster. The irony is sharp. The more people believed these coins would never be valuable, the more valuable the best survivors eventually became. Then there are mint sets and proof coins from 1980, produced for collectors but often mishandled or broken apart over time. Proofs were meant to be special, struck with polished dies and planchets, but even they weren't immune to neglect. Scratches, hazing, and careless storage destroyed countless examples. Finding a flawless proof today is harder than many expect, and that difficulty translates directly into rising value. But to understand how a coin connected to 1980 can be worth millions, you have to zoom out.